Hey everyone, Sam here,
And I'm Melissa.
and welcome back. Today we wanted to talk a little bit about my journey in education and how that all happened for me, I guess.
Yeah, we had somebody leave a comment asking a little bit more when we had touched base about his
Mm-hmm.
homeschooling experience, asking a few more details about that. And we thought it'd be a good chance to kind of give an overall perspective on education and what it
Yeah.
was thought about out there, all the way to what it was like for Sam ending up going to college and getting a degree.
Yep. Yeah.
So, first question
Yeah.
is really like, how do they view education out there in that community?
So education was a thing. It was in a way required in at least the families that I know of. But it was not it wasn't as important. Like it was still required. They wanted you to get some type of education, but it was taught generally by the parents of the family.
Okay, and then you
Yeah.
said that there were some like groups of families that would homeschool together, right?
Yes. Yep.
So how many families would like gather together to do homeschool?
Well, it just depends. My personal family, we had ooh, three, four, five families at one time, but it was just with the families being so big, that was a lot of people. But they were all our nieces and nephews and uncles and
Still all relatives.
yes, exactly, very close relatives. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And then like what age range did you guys all get taught the same thing? Like from kindergarten, like or I guess like kindergarten being like 5. Like what was the
Right.
age range when you got homeschooled?
Right. So it was very similar. Getting into kindergarten, preschool, and first grade, second grade. We still had the grades, and it was
Oh,
it was
okay.
very similar to normal as far as age goes.
Where did it stop though? Like what age did you typically stop?
Well, for the boys, for the man, it was a little earlier, I would say, than the women because it was as soon as we were old enough to get out and go to work, that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we were, I guess, expected to do. Yeah. So it was.
How old were you when you stopped going to like the formal homeschooling?
So I started working and doing construction work at about age 12, 12 years old. That's
Okay.
when I sort of put education on the back burner and went to work.
And one
Yeah.
question that somebody left a comment was also like, what subjects did you study? And
Mm-hmm.
kind of, was there any subjects you didn't study? Did they all like have a twist? Was there anything that was like a lot different when you left? Like, was history different? Was it taught?
Yeah. So we had all of the typical subjects. We had English, math, and science, history. That we had a little bit of everything, but it was not. It was very limited. And everything with education all tied back to the religion as well. So a lot of our history lessons were church history. It was history about where the church came from and all the changes throughout the church. And there was some regular history as well. We had books. We had history books, so we knew Christopher Columbus, for example, and we learned some of these stories. And so there was history, but it just wasn't near as in depth as you would typically learn in a regular school.
Just like generic. What was science like?
That we didn't get much of science.
Okay, so just
I
a
don't,
little bit
I
of
don't, I
science.
don't remember. I do remember seeing it in a textbook, but I don't remember doing or learning much about it. It was kind of, uh, it was there, but it wasn't one of the main things we focused on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think
So,
that covers a lot of the questions that I know some people had
mm-hmm,
about that. But then, as far as so, Sam had started construction work when he was 12. So, most of his, like, if you wanted to call his homeschooling formal,
mm,
like the actual, like, going to the schoolhouse homeschool, ended when he was 12. And so, then when he left when he was 18, what was your view on education? Like, how did you feel about it in general?
right. So when I first moved out, uh, it wasn't anywhere in my mind really. It was just something that I did that when I was a kid. You know, now I'm a
Kids go to school.
now I'm a big boy. Exactly. Kids go to school. Now I'm a big boy. I go to work. That was my mentality. And now I work. I make money and do what it takes to survive. So moving out and seeing how important education was to people was shocking. It was shocking to see how important it was. So when I moved out and started meeting families and friends and talking about education, I realized, wow, I mean, it almost seems like you need an education in this world, you know? So it was something that I started thinking about, but I never felt like I could ever do it. I just didn't feel, I didn't feel smart enough. I didn't feel smart enough to actually get a formal education. So for a long time, I didn't even try. And in fact, I would avoid most people my age were going to college, and so I would avoid going down the street past the college when going across town, just because it made me feel, uh, I guess, it just made me feel dumb in a way to see everyone going to college, and I didn't feel like I would ever be able to do that. I didn't feel, yeah.
It always breaks my heart whenever we talk about that. Like when we
Yeah.
drive through and we go back to St. George, Utah, which is where we're from, and like whenever we drive down that street, and the first time he told me that like he would avoid this street because it went by the college, it just like broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because it's something like education is one of those things that if you don't have the opportunity, it doesn't have to do with anything to do with your potential. Like
Right.
it doesn't have anything to do except for the opportunity of being taught something. And so
Yeah.
it always made me sad whenever he'd say that. But
After being out for about 2 years, I had the privilege of going on a a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint mission to Chile. And so that was, well, that's a whole other story. But it was a great experience, and in that experience, I was able to learn another language. I was able to pick up Spanish. Now that was not easy. Coming from, not really having any type of formal education, and to know how to study and do all that, it was very brutal. It was very difficult to learn a new language.
and most people like just in normal everyday life, like we know that like hola means hello and amigo is friend. Like there's
Yeah.
Spanish words that are really common that people tend to know. But when he like went to the missionary training center to learn this language, like to learn Spanish, he didn't even know what hola meant. Like he didn't even know what hello meant. So these
No,
other guys
nothing.
in there at least had some kind of base or had taken Spanish in high school and stuff. And he was literally not only like starting at ground zero for the language, but also like hadn't learned how to learn, if that makes sense. Because when you go through school, typically you're also learning how to do homework, you're learning how to study,
Yeah.
you're learning how to like your way of absorbing information and learning. And he had never had that experience either, so it was
Right.
like major learning curve. And that is
Right.
totally a story for another video.
Yeah,
But
it
it gave him the confidence that like you could do it.
was, exactly.
It's like if I can learn this.
Yep. After I came back, 2 years in Chile, I was able to pick it up. It took a long time, or several months, to finally start picking it up. And once I got a little bit, I just got it all, and it was something that I was able to learn very well. I felt like I was speaking very fluently, and so it gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a lot of confidence. And when I came back, I just, in my mind, I said, I can do this. I can do anything. I can do anything now. So I came back, and with some help of friends and family, I was able to jump in and get my GED. It was not easy. It took a lot of hours studying. I mean, I would be up till midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, just going over one math problem, just over and over. Just, I can't figure this out, and I would just want to learn, why it works the way it works. And so it was a lot of work, but eventually I felt like I had it down, and I went and took my test and got my GED. And after that, I jumped right into the college and went to Dixie State University. Yeah.
And graduated there in his degrees in Spanish and marketing, actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was able to continue his Spanish and like,
Yeah.
yeah, he can speak Spanish and write Spanish like crazy well, and he still uses it.
I love it.
He
Yeah.
still uses it every day in his job too,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool to
Yeah.
be able to do
Get
that.
to use it
So,
all the time. So.
but yeah, that's like a quick
Yeah, I
version
mean,
of
there's a lot of little details we could get into, but that's ended up with a bachelor's degree in marketing and Spanish, and that's where I am so far. We'll see. Maybe I'll continue and get more.
Yeah.
Get more of an education. But.
Yeah, but anyways, if you guys like to continue to hear more of Sam's stories about him growing up in polygamy, leaving polygamy, and just more of his fun stories of life, then please like and subscribe to our videos, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
We'll talk to you soon.